socially powered digital marketing show, the Digital Marketer's Guide to Emerging Technology, covering blockchain, cryptocurrency, and social media disruption. Hey there, I'm Erin Cell, your host of the show. This week, we will be discussing what a conscious capitalist view is and how to approach the world with confidence, not egos. This week, I'm speaking with Mark Hamade. He is a partner, a venture capitalist, speaker, mentor, advisor, C-level executive, and Mark has an amazing story. He has actually beat being in a wheelchair for many years, beat stage 4 cancer. He's survived over 15 surgeries. He's lost 253 pounds. He's a Marine Corps veteran, supporter of the planet, people, and women entrepreneurs. I've known Mark since I was in college, which is just crazy. We reconnected many years later. Mark Hamade is a conscious capitalist, meaning he is passionately respectful of people, the planet, and profitable enterprises. He believes that organizations have a responsibility to uphold all three P's equally: strategic, visionary, and innovative leadership, business acumen, and a strong ability to create and execute a strategy that results in sustained financial health of the organization. So let's go ahead and get into it with Mark. Welcome to the show, Mark Hamade. I'm excited to have you here with me today. So I think it's kind of funny. I usually try to tell our listeners how we met, and I think it's really funny. So Mark and I actually went to college together and have known each other for many, many years. And I remember I was looking at a conference. I believe it was a conference in Malta, and I was looking at the speakers and I saw your name and I was like, "What?" Mark Hamade, I know that name. And so then I started like going down the rabbit hole of like looking at what you were doing and reached out to you. I think maybe LinkedIn or Facebook. I don't remember how we reconnected, but
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love Malta, and I was like a featured speaker there to open it up, and I enjoyed that. I got into blockchain, so I'm very, I would say, sustainable and more of grounded with a little bit of creativity, looking at processes and so forth. And I had done construction, a bunch of different things, but I was big on children and them not be and the kidnappings, especially from, as you know, from Kansas and Wichita and so forth. And I felt like blockchain could be something that would be able to be traced, to trace where it was going, to be able to save the kids. And also from a construction standpoint, where you have the owner. The owner says, "Hey, Aaron, I want to build the Denver airport." And then he goes finds an architect. The architect draws it, and then the engineer starts to engineer it, and then they get a general contractor, and then they get a subcontractor, and so forth. Along the line, the architect could draw it like a little kid, and then the engineer doesn't engineer it. But the engineer blames the architect blames the engineer, and nobody gets. And so with blockchain, the chain of custody is there. And also, I dealt with a female that had an egg, and she wanted black child. The child came out white, and so then when we looked at it, there's a lot of mistakes that happen at those types of banks, but you
right.
don't know about it because if it's a white egg being switched by another white egg, you don't know. And so again, I love blockchain from a standpoint of uh, if SAP isn't working, if CRM isn't working, if that's not working, use it. I don't use it in an area where there's already something that's fantastic and great. But that's initially kind of why I got into it. It's like it can solve a problem that hasn't been solved, or there's a pain.
Right. That I love that too, that there's the tracking and everything is accountable. Like there's no way of cheating the system, which is kind of funny because before we started recording, we were talking about, what's going on with the election and all that. And I have actually heard for both sides with the election, like if
Mhm.
blockchain is worthwhile for using in an election. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I mean, it's in those areas. Instead, people are creating these BS companies, right? With blah blah blah, and when you look underneath the hood, there is nothing, right? And I'm using AI with blockchain with this to do a robot investment, blah blah blah, and then you're like, okay, this is great. And they spent $1 million on a white paper and got two PhDs to write it. And they did a pitch deck that you can use as toilet paper, and it shows you that the company is going to be $1 billion in 2 years. And then when you ask them, can you show me how it works? They can't.
Right.
And when they can, as just trial, you ask them, okay, get some customers in here. You get some customers, and the platform fails, right?
Yeah.
But this is where blockchain can be so good in those areas that it's really really needed, and you can catch the chain of custody and follow it. So when you don't see it there, that tells me they want corruption. They don't want change. And if you notice in politics generally, you don't have business people. You don't have people that all the people that care, like a Mother Teresa and so forth. They say, I want to stay away from the government. I just want to take care of kids. I want to take care of this. And we forget. Then we allow the wrong people to get in these positions, and you see it through all over the world. And then it hurts all the people.
Right.
The best people, the best humans are not in politics. And when
Which
they
is
do come in
sad.
politics, right? Yeah. And when they do come in politics, they're eaten up and they're not reelected because there's not enough of them, you know?
Right. Yeah. Tell me about some of the companies that you work with, because I know you sit on a lot of boards and work with a lot of different blockchain organizations.
Well, two companies I'm really excited about is one is Nobella Tech, and Nobella Tech is by a former, Army uh, gentleman who was actually, believe it or not, I don't know if he played in Wimbledon, but an amazing that. But he's very very deep down, kind, and so forth. And what it really is imagine GitHub, LinkedIn, and Facebook for scientists.
Okay.
And so basically, okay, Erin, you've got like 5 patents, and one of them is at Stanford. It's this, it's there. We take that patent out, and we see where does it work with Pfizer, with whoever, and then connect it, and then give the scientists credit and tokens. And where it becomes really great is there are so many scientists that are in Kenya and in third world countries that are getting nothing. There are scientists that are measuring beakers with PhDs from Princeton, So it allows and there's so many patents all over the world and in all these universities that are just sitting there. They can be used, but you gotta put them together. And so that's where it's really, really cool. Because if you look at Facebook and all of that stuff, there's all that nonsense with the sexuality and hitting on this person and that person with LinkedIn and so forth. So scientists aren't going to do that. They're not going to. They're going to communicate for the betterment of good. And so then it's allowing. Then maybe we can actually find a cure for Alzheimer's, right? Because Alzheimer's, for example, I worked with a company where there was carbon on the brain, and this company helps shave the carbon out, so then you get your memory back.
Wow.
But the carbon keeps coming back, and Alzheimer's is mostly in women more than men, and so things like that. And then the next company is CanF, which is in Ethereum, and that one is by Kermshuff, who's one of the top 100 billionaires in UAE. And what I like about that is Vitalik. I love because I think he really cares. He wants to progress what's going on, and it's using it to be more sustainable and less energy. And so if you look at blockchain and Bitcoin and so forth, it uses too much electricity. And so, like just
Right.
like solar, I tell people solar is great, but there's a lot of carbon. So sometimes we talk out of both asses, excuse my French, and it's like you don't want to do good to cause bad, and so it's a better form. But again, the problem with this stuff is you look at the internet. It took like 15 years for the internet to get going. It took 12 years for people to figure out if I looked at you and I had AIDS, you're not going to get sick. And we're expecting all this stuff to happen overnight, and it doesn't. And so that's where we have to really nurture it and so forth, especially on the medical side. What I love about that is it takes 10 to 15 years. But being a stage 4 cancer survivor, I I understand how dangerous it is and how gratifying it is to help human life. And that's where I think blockchain and this innovation is so great because it's really leaving a mark in this world.
Speaking of that, you have a very interesting life story, life journey. So I think that needs to be discussed, shared.
So I was born in Lebanon in 1974, and my grandmother who raised me is one of the most amazing women, and she was a teacher. And in Lebanon, I dealt with a lot of children getting killed, guns, so forth. So and that really teaches you the value of life, and it teaches you empathy, but it also closes you. It closes you from wanting to care for people because you're afraid to lose them. And uh, so after when I was 11, so I was born with one leg shorter than the other, so by 5 inches. So when I was 11, I moved to the U.S. I came in with a visa, then a green card, then citizenship. But here's something interesting: the person who welcomed me at the airport in New York City was Donald Trump.
What?
My grandmother knew him, and I stayed in Trump Towers and down NASA's building.
Wow.
And
That's funny.
and I've met Princess Di. That's something that's kind of exciting too. So so uh, so so I tell people sometimes as a child I had the worst life ever, and sometimes I was more privileged than an adult.
Right.
you know, and 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 Trump was really really kind and different then. Uh,
What
and
and
so
wait, what year would that have been? That would have been
85,
85. Okay.
85.
Yeah.
So then when I came to the U.S., I wanted to give back, and I joined the Marines. And why the Marines? Well, truthfully, because the recruiter pushed the Marines, and I liked the uniforms, and I thought it was the toughest. It wasn't the most money. It wasn't the most anything. I mean, again, I'm still a little bit naive in certain things, right? I was naive. I mean, even at high school, I actually had a lunchbox, right? And people were making fun of me. And then one day I came home and I'm like, I need to find these brown bags. I took a brown bag from the trash, and I'm like, I need this brown bag because people are making fun of me, And now what's cool with
And where were
jams
you living? Where were you living then?
New York, New
Okay.
York, and now when you look at jams, you look at parachute pants and all that stuff that's cool now. We were getting beat up. I mean, I had a unibrow, right? I had, my mom's very very pretty, and she was like runner up to Miss Lebanon. But what does a mom say? Oh, honey, you're beautiful. You're beautiful. But then it's like, well, you're not if you have a unibrow and you don't take care of yourself, and I mean, you don't know,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so that was very difficult. And then after college, right, I worked at a restaurant. I did a dealership, very just different things to kind of move up. But through that, after the Marines, my back broke, and I was in a wheelchair for 2 years. And when in the Marines, you eat whatever you want. You're gonna do sports. You're gonna be fine. Well, when you're in a wheelchair, you eat all you want because you think you're going to get out of the wheelchair because you're arrogant and you're drinking and you're taking Vicodins, and I gained 254 pounds. And at one time I was taking 16 Vicodins a day, and
Wow.
now I don't do any of that stuff or whatever. But and people ask me, Mark, were you medicating yourself? No, I wasn't depressed. I was in real pain, and so I was able to get off right away, but it hurts your bones, so forth. So then I said to myself, let me put a lifestyle change because I started looking at diets and I'm like, and one thing I say, I'm not intellectual, but I have common sense. And so I'm like, common sense tells me there's a ton of diets. Which diet works? Well, obviously none of them work. So let me do a lifestyle change. And that's what I did. And it really took me, and this is where it doesn't become sexy, it took me 9 years. 3 years to lose the 254 pounds, 3 years to merge it with a working out, and 3 years to deal with depression and not eat, not eat Sonic Coney dogs in bed,
Right.
and medicate myself through that and watching the Food Channel, you know. So, so, so with that, but along with that, I ended up getting I was turning around companies, working 20, 22 hours, and I tell people, your cells and your body, you think you don't need sleep, but you don't know what you're causing your body to do. So I ended up getting cancer. And when I got cancer, I was throwing up blood. And I'm like, to the doctor, just fucking give me some medicine, figure it out. Who cares?
Right.
And then it's
You
like,
had shit to do.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
And then you get to stage 4. And he's like, well, you're going to die in a few weeks. So you're like, oh, shit, okay. And then the chemo, the surgery on the nose and that. And I've ended up getting cancer 3 times and taking a tumor outside of the tummy. And you just learn now that, you know what? I always say now, people ask me, are you scared of dying? I'm like, well, God has asked me to come to dinner a few times, and then he said, I'm canceling.
Right.
And that, and that's really it. And the business side of it, I tell people, like my grandmother told me when I was young, she goes, there's going to come a point where I can't support you anymore. You need to support me. And you need to make money for that. She never said you need to make money for a Rolls Royce or a Ferrari or that. So I always tell people, you look at a company, you want to turn it around and you want to grow it to take care of staff so they can feed their families, so they can enjoy life. And really being a leader, it's not leadership, it's being a teacher. And it's teaching everybody to do better at what they do and elevate the greatness in each person to get the best out of them. It's like when you're interviewing people, if they're down and you can't hear them, then you haven't done a good enough job to get them elevated, right? And it's getting that emotion out of them. And so that's what really leadership is. It's getting the greatness out of each person. And then even if they're mediocre,
Right.
even if the person is mediocre, you want them to be the best they can be. And that's kind of what it's exciting because, again, people want to go home, feed their families, and enjoy what they've done. And if you focus on that, the money will come because then everybody's going to want to work with each other. And if the thing isn't working, they'll pivot to something else, but they'll still want to be there. How can I make it work with Mark? How can I make it work with Bill? What can we do, right? And what's exciting. And that's kind of the journey.
Yeah. So one of the things I know that you are very, I guess, supportive of is female entrepreneurs and building them up and helping them, get going and do more. So can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I always say it's about people. It's about profitable enterprise, right? And it's about planet and women entrepreneurs. And so when you think about it, you'll see it, but very, very rare where a woman will tell you she's doing this well, right? When she's doing this well. It's always I'm doing this well when she's really doing this well, right? So they have that empathy and the kindness. And every guy, and I tell this to men with everything going on, every man came out of a woman. So you would think to be respectful and caring from that perspective. And then the hardest thing to manage is a child. When a child cries, you can't throw them across the wall. You have to figure out why they're crying. Are they sad? What's going on? Is it a toothache? What is it? If you have the patience to figure that out, you have the patience to grow a company because it's a bunch of kids. They're 50 to 60-year-old kids that are sitting there talking about what happened in the weekend and who did what, or whatever, right? gossiping nonstop on whatever. And this is why women become so successful. Now, why are they not put up? The reason why is because men, we have egos and we pump on our chest and this and that's considered passionate. And if you do it as a woman, you're considered a bitch.
Right.
And so then you are you go into a room and you may be able to have done everything, but no one's listening to you because you're quiet about it. You're not saying, "Hey, hold on, shut up. Let me tell you what I'm doing."
Right.
If a guy does that, oh wow, he's confident. If you do that, oh, she's a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's not fair and it's not right. And so now I'm not into all women companies. I've dealt with that. No, I'm not into all men. There needs to be a combination. But
Right.
at the end of the day, you people have to. I tell people I had a room full of awards and trophies and this and that, and then I said to myself, I incinerated them all because it doesn't matter. It's what every employee thinks of you, right? I'm thankful for Mark doing this. I'm thankful for Erin doing this. I'm thankful for Bill doing that. Not the awards. You can go get a 20-foot trophy. You can buy Twitter this. You can organically build all of that. It's all meaningless. It's really what have you accomplished. So it's that responsibility and accountability. And
Right.
and and I think women do that very, very well and really look at it as, hey, you know what? We're gonna all win as a team and they focus on that and they focus on the right things. Now there are some not so good or whatever, but in all honesty, when people tell me, "Oh, this VC is not good or venture capital is not good," it has nothing to do with the industry. Look who's leading that company. Look who's leading that company. You will never find a company that has failed due to great leadership. Every single company, even when you say, "Well, Mark, the product wasn't good," look at the leadership. At that
Right.
time, they didn't listen to their employees. They ignored them. So I'm all about confidence, but not ego. So you'll be talking to somebody, let's say, and they'll tell you you'll let's say about podcasting or whatever, and they may have a problem, and they'll say, "Oh, I know," before you even finish the sentence. That's ego, and they're gonna always fail. So whenever I have somebody like that, I don't even want to invest in them. I don't even want to work with them. I'm done. I'm completely done with them because I know they're not listening. They're just saying so. It's like bankrupt companies come to me and say, "Mark, I have a problem. Okay, and this is how I need you to solve it." I'm like, "You don't know how you need to solve it. You didn't want to be 300 million in the hole. You have no clue. And the and how I'm going to solve it, you're not going to believe it's going to work because it's a foreign language. If you knew what I was going to do, you would have done it. Nobody
Right.
wants to lose money.
Right.
Nobody wants to fail. So it's going to be a different thing. And so the biggest thing that I feel people misunderstand is they don't sell value. It's like if you tell me, "Hey, Mark, you can do your own podcast. I can help you with it. It's 1,600. Oh, Erin, that's too much. Oh, okay, then I'll just teach you. Okay, but you need a recorder. Oh, how much is that? 500. You need a microphone. How much is it? Oh, now we're at 3,000. Okay, I'll do it for you. You know, and so people don't explain the value of what they do, and then the price goes down.
Right.
And so, and so so that needs to be more. But I think that's one of the biggest thing why women. You see my personality, type A, go go go. There are some women like that, but very few. And the ones that are like that, they go far in life. They really do, right? But the rest don't. But they're just great. They're doing great work, and I promoted a young lady from $8 an hour to 200,000. She did work for 15 years. Her husband died of cancer. She was hardworking. She did everything, but she just didn't brag. She didn't talk about it. She just did the work and supported the whole team. So it's like if we win together, that's all that matters.
I
You
love
want
that.
awards? Go to a trophy shop and craft your pay for it.
Right. Let's share with the audience what is like your, I guess, best words of wisdom for
Okay,
business and
okay.
yeah.
So best words of wisdom: every night before you sleep, write down what you did that day and what you want to do the next day. And so I will maybe write and say, you know what? Today I wasn't honest to Erin on the podcast. So I will call you up tomorrow and say, hey Erin, I wasn't honest with you. Okay?
What
And
are you
so
lying
it
about?
so it you can change your manipulation. You can change how you are in a daily way. You can't change it 8 months later. You can't change it 2 years later. It exasperates, right? So if you gain 3 pounds, you can start watching your weight and going to the gym. But oh, you know what, Erin? Yeah, I had ice cream next Monday. Oh, next Monday. Yeah, you know what? I had pizza. The next Monday I'll go to the gym. All of a sudden, I'm 40 pounds overweight. Oh, just you know,
Right.
and so you could do that daily, and it's like, okay, I wanna finish this project. I wanna this, and then the other thing is, I now at least 2 days shut my phone off. You have to completely decompress and shut the phone off and 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 relax. But you also have to be honest on, stop. I tell people this fake it to make it doesn't work. You have to be authentic. And if you're hurting, let people know you're hurting. But at the end of the day, we all pee in our pants. We all have problems. We all do whatever. And too many people just, are like this and that. And then I meet them later and they're in tears. They don't have this. It's a complete mess. And you're just like, well, you've been living a fucking lie and you
Right.
haven't tried to do anything about it.
I love that because it holds you accountable to yourself on a daily basis.
And it's easy to use,
Right.
right? Everything else is like, okay, I need 6 PhDs to do that. I don't have time for that, right? This
Right.
you can do it. I like tonight. I'll be like, okay, I called Erin. I paid attention to her. I wasn't doing anything else. She got my time. I did that. I went to the gym. Boom. I took Curtis. So the 5 things I wanted to do, I got 4 of them done. If the
Right.
fifth one I didn't do, goes on the next day.
Yep.
And you start accomplishing things.
Yeah, I love that. So tell everybody what is the best way to connect with you, stay in touch with you, learn more about what you're doing.
So you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Google me through Mark Hamade or markhamade.com. And I will say this, I've been coaching some people, and I've helped 7 people in this pandemic get raises. One person, I more not quadrupled, like 7 times his salary. Others doubled to tripled. So there are,
Wow.
you have to be good. You have to be good. You have to have something. But you also have to be able to, again, I will say without people problems, you have no problem. If I want to work with you and you think of me as a crook, you'll never work with me. But if I influence you and not manipulate you, it's all about people. Anything can be accomplished. So it's showing the confidence of the company. Hey, you know what? This is a problem you have. This is how I can help you. And people are like, well, wow, look at what you've done. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Look at what the company's getting, right?
Yep.
Because 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 the person is so valuable, and I charge hourly. I don't take a commission. I don't take a bonus because again, you want to do things the right way. And even as a human being, if I get drunk, I might not kill somebody if I drive, but I'm not going to take that risk. So I'm not going to start doing things for commission because I want to put people in the right spot that's good for them and the company, not what's best for me. And that's what
Yep.
makes it exciting.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with me here today.
It's awesome. I really appreciate it, and I'm proud of myself because to come back with a relationship like yourself for knowing for 20. We're immature in college and we make mistakes, but to actually grow from that immaturity and have that relationship, it's rare, and I have very
Right.
few like that, and it's special beyond. It's just there is nothing like the bond between humans and people that you've known for a long time, and through the ups and downs, and it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. It's really cool.
all
Awesome.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Well, I hope you guys appreciated that conversation with Mark Hamade as much as I did. I just want to say be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on our latest episodes. And if you're enjoying the show, please be sure to leave us a review on your favorite podcast player. We would also love to connect with you on all your favorite social media platforms. You can find us at Socially Powered, sharing tips, tricks, and the latest episodes on all things social, crypto, and blockchain related. Thanks for listening.